Hi everyone, Jeff Lee here, Program Director of TMASF Connects. I am joined by TMASF Connect staff members Jen Pollard, Chief Operating Officer, and Shirley Lin, Marketing Associate. Today, we are discussing the efforts of SFMTA that builds on their legacy of offering successful commute trips and reflects best practices refined during the COVID-19 pandemic. We would like to thank Jeffrey Tumlin, SFMTA's Director of Transportation, for taking time to talk with us today. TMASF Connects has supported the use of public transportation services in the Bay Area and its benefits for the past 30 years. We are a privately funded nonprofit that promotes alternatives to driving alone. In this interview series, we'd like to discuss and highlight measures SFMTA has taken to welcome commuters back as they return or try the Muni system. From our most recent commuter behavior survey, taken pre-pandemic 2020, 30% of our association members take Muni as part of their daily trip. Jeffrey, you're an urban planner by trade with over 20 years of experience in the transportation world. You've also written a book on the subject, Sustainable Transportation, Tools for Creating Healthy, Vibrant, and Resilient Communities. As San Francisco natives and residents, we're thrilled to have that type of expertise at SFMTA and honored to have you here with us today.
I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Next, we'd like to discuss safety on Muni and resources available to commuters.
So, Jeffrey, can you please describe the video surveillance on Muni vehicles and in its stations?
Yes. We have some of the best video surveillance capabilities of any transit operations in the world. Every single one of our vehicles has multiple cameras at multiple locations in the vehicles, and all of our stations have cameras as well. So we collect high resolution video on board all of our vehicles and in all of our spaces. That data is dumped 10 days after it is taken. And it's why it is so important that if any of you see crimes on Muni, that you please report that information. We can then hold the whatever that camera data is and use that camera data in order to identify who did what, send that data to the police if appropriate, and also learn in order to make sure that we're preventing those problems from happening again. When we have crimes reported and the suspect can be identified, that video data is able to produce a very high conviction rate. So please do report any incident you see on Muni. You can do that at 311, or better yet, if it's happening in real time, at 911. And we are able to respond quickly.
Okay.
And Jeffrey, can you also describe safety enforcement in the Muni system?
Yes. So it's important to understand that crime on Muni is at a historic low. It is a tiny fraction of what it was back in 2013. That said, we do understand, and we hear this from many of our passengers, that the perceived security concerns are a factor in people being concerned about taking transit. And so we want to assure you about everything that we're doing to make sure that transit is in fact safe. Back at the end of last year, we hired 20 new transit ambassadors. And these are folks who we hire that grew up in San Francisco, grew up riding Muni, who really understand San Francisco and its neighborhoods. And we train them in de-escalation techniques and other techniques to help avoid problems before they occur and to help our riders avoid conflict. They're also really skilled at knowing exactly the right moment when they need to use their radio to bring in the San Francisco Police Department to get a quick response on something that does require an actual police officer. But in the meantime, our transit ambassadors, they're unarmed community people whose job it is to help everyone stay really chill. Our new budget that starts July 1 includes 22 additional transit ambassadors on top of our existing program. And all of these folks are dedicated to lines where our data says we have a crime problem or where we're hearing from passengers about personal security concerns. So that's the foundation of our safety program on Muni. But in addition to that, we're also hiring additional people to review all of our data, including our camera footage, in order to identify patterns that aren't being reported. For minor issues of harassment, those sorts of harassment problems are rarely reported, but they are personally really hurtful to people who experience that. And so we're using our video data in order to try to identify patterns as well as perpetrators, and then direct our security personnel where we're seeing those patterns. And in addition, our new budget also includes a pretty significant investment in what we're calling our Gender Safety Equity Initiative. And this is modeled after BART's program that is focused on making sure that women and girls feel safe at all times on Muni. So this will include a bunch of public education, as well as bystander training and bystander information, along with more targeted outreach and ambassador presence where it's most needed so that women and girls feel safe and we reduce and ideally eliminate sexual harassment on board transit vehicles.
Wow.
And we did ask, or BART did tell us that when we interviewed them. So that's great to hear that SFMTA is doing a very, very similar program. I just wanted to clarify really quickly. So right now there are 20 transit ambassadors currently in the system, and with the July budget, there'll be an additional 22. So bring that number up to 42 total transit ambassadors, correct?
That's correct.
That's great.
Great.
So, and you mentioned this a little bit previously. So for issues that commuters may encounter, their best bet is to call 311 or 911 if it's an emergency.
That's
Just
right.
want to touch base really quickly. Are there different procedures or anything else different they should do if they're taking a different type of Muni vehicle? Again, going back to the idea of the diverse types of vehicles in Muni's fleet.
No, I mean, we have a whole array of different types of vehicles, but the rules for the passengers are the same across all of our vehicles. If there's an emergency that requires immediate response, please do not hesitate to call 911. And if you simply want to report an incident to make sure that it is recorded, 311 is your best bet.
Okay. Thank you for reviewing safety resources and features on Muni and off. That wraps it up for our conversation with Muni for now. Thank you once again, Jeffrey Tumlin, SFMTA's Director of Transportation, for taking time to answer our questions. And thank you to Jen and Shirley as well for joining me today.